understood this, and no one explained this really. It was, and so, maybe it wouldn't have done me any good, because as young people, we don't think of tomorrow. We think that being 60 is like a million years away, and really it's a blink of an eye away. I'm 51. I'm going to be 60 before I know it, and so will you. If you're here today and you think, oh, I'm 18, I got all the time in the world. You do not have all the time in the world. You have very little time. And before you know it, you're going to be too old to do what you could do right now. And so I wish somebody would have explained this to me, but I'm not an expert at it. I would encourage you, I want to be very clear. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not licensed in any way. I'm not here giving you financial advice. I'm just trying to point you in some directions I wish I would have been pointed in, but I would tell you, you need to go and talk to somebody who knows what they're talking about. There's some books you can read. There are people you can talk to. There's tons of people. Most of you, if you have a checking account, like at USA or Frost or probably Chase or Wells Fargo, for sure one of these larger banks, they will give you free financial advice. You can walk in the lobby and say, I am interested in retirement and I need some advice. And I know USA does for certain. I know Frost does for certain. I'm pretty sure Wells Fargo does this. And Bank of America probably does. All the major banks, I'm almost certain will do this, but I know some do because I've done it. You can walk in and say, I need some financial advice, and they have financial advisor, and they will not charge you anything for this. They will just walk you through what you can do, and many of them have options that you can do through your bank app right there, and they'll point you in other directions. So there's a lot of advice out there you don't even have to pay for. In fact, I would tell you, do not go to places where you have to pay for it at first. Go get the ones that are free. Look into like Dave Ramsey. He has a lot of good advice on this. You can look into Kevin O'Leary, gives a lot of good advice on this. Mark Cuban tweets out good advice on this stuff as well. There's a lot of sources for this, but you'll find that they are basically all saying the same thing, right? There's no miracle solution. You're not gonna get to retirement with a good amount of money through some miracle solution. This is going to be through discipline and through deferral of gratification. If you can't defer gratification, which is what young people, it's what I struggled with and struggle with to this day, it's what young people struggle. We want satisfaction right now. We want what we want right now. And we're not thinking about what we're going to want when we're 50, 60, and 70 years old. So you have to be able to defer your gratification. You have to be able to say, I'm willing to be uncomfortable today in order to be comfortable later. And if you can't do that, then you're not going to be able to invest. That's what you're going to have to be able to do, okay? So let's talk about investing. So investing is not about becoming wealthy. It's about being responsible. It's very important to understand that, because I can just tell you from my own personal experience, I grew up in an environment, an evangelical environment, that even though they never said it out loud, what I understood, the sense that I got, was that if you're putting away money for the future, in any substantial amount, if you're really putting away money for the future, you're really not living by faith. You should be, the whole idea was, I don't want to die and have money in a bank account. Well, that is a terrible idea. It's a terrible idea. That is not living by faith. In fact, I would tell you that it promotes living not by faith. It's the opposite of living by faith. It's living by sight. Living by faith is saying, there is something beyond today. I cannot live for just what I can spend today. There is a future coming, and I need to prepare for it. And if we read, for instance, in Matthew, Jesus gave the parable of the talents, and the one who took the talent and he hid it, he buried it, he says, because he was too afraid to do anything with it. In the parable, the king or the Lord who gave him the talent is very upset and said he should have at least put it in a bank account and got interest on it. So Jesus is not against investment and profit. In fact, he's against you not using properly and responsibly the resources that you've been given. Spending them on yourself, on consumption, and on consumerism only, I would say he's against that. But this isn't about how wealthy can I get. It's not about what that is. This is about being responsible. when you're 70, who's going to take care of you? Are you going to have to be cared for by your children? Are they going to have to support you? Are they going to have to pay your bills? Are they going to have to take care of you? Are you going to be able to leave anything to your children or grandchildren? See, that's about being responsible, about saying when I'm 70 and 80 and 90 years old, I want to be able to care for myself. I don't want to be a burden on anybody. I want to be a blessing to people. And if I can leave my grandchildren some money, an inheritance, that's being a blessing to somebody. If they have to come and take care of me, and they have to pay my bills, and they have to clean up my debt when I'm dead, well, then I'm not being a blessing, I'm being a burden. So it's about being responsible. That's what investing is about. So we're talking about today, we're going to talk about some numbers, and it's going to seem like, well, you guys are just caring about money. Money is the freedom and the ability to be responsible. That's what it represents. Okay, so most financial advisors that I've looked at are going to tell you that you need to be investing at least 15% of your income. Meaning if you make $1,000, you need to take $150 out of every check and put it in a retirement account. That's the number that most people are saying. Now, that's not going to be easy to do, especially if you haven't grown up doing it. Because you have a lot of things you wish you could spend that money on rather than that. But that is what most of them are going to tell you you should be doing. So what is it? And if you have any questions, please just raise your hand if I'm not explaining something well or something that you want to add to this. So what do you do with that 15%? Well, what most of them will tell you to do, and what I would suggest you look into, is that you put that money into a Roth IRA. Now, if you don't know what a Roth IRA is a financial instrument that the government, the federal government has set up to help people prepare and save for retirement. It's kind of like a traditional IRA, but there's a very unique difference. So if you're in an IRA or traditional IRA, if you've looked into them, the way a traditional IRA works is you take money from your check before you pay taxes, so it's pre-tax, and you put that money in the IRA and you don't have to pay tax on that money. So it's like you didn't make that money. Your taxes, FICA, your Social Security, your income tax, that all gets charged on the money after you invest. So it's very attractive in that sense because it lowers your earned income, your gross earned income, because you're paying money, you don't pay money on taxes on it. But when you retire and you start withdrawing the money from the IRA, then you pay tax on that money. Now, the reason why that's attractive is because typically your income tax rate is going to be lower in retirement because you may not even be working, right? So you'll be at the lowest bracket. So you'll be paying taxes on the money you saved at a much lower rate than when you earned it. But you're also going to pay taxes on all the interest that money accumulated over that period of time. You're going to pay tax on that money also. That's how an IRA works. And it's a good deal. There's nothing wrong. And that's usually what your company will offer you if they do a matching fund. You're going to get in a traditional IRA. And if they offer you, if your company has a retirement benefit package, you should be taking advantage of it if they have a match. So if the company says we'll match 3 or 4 or 5 or 6% of your income, you should be maxing that out every year. Every year you should max that out if they're offering you that, even if it's in a traditional IRA. That's fantastic. That's free money. That's up to 6% of your income. They will match. So you should definitely take advantage of that. However, there's also what's called the Roth IRA. And the Roth IRA is a little different. So on that one, you pay taxes on all the money before you put it in. You pay taxes on the money. You invest in the Roth IRA, but you don't pay tax on any of the money you take out when you retire, including all the interest. It comes out tax-free. Now, this is a massive tax savings. Now, there are limitations. Who can do it? So if you're in very high income brackets, you can't use a Roth IRA. So you have to look into that. But for most people, this is a man, a really, really good deal. Because the majority of the money that you will have in your retirement account after 40 years of investing will not be your money. It'll be the interest. By far, it's not even close. And you will not pay tax on all that money. So it's a really good deal, a Roth IRA. That is how you should probably invest. I know some people are like, well, should we buy stocks? What company? I would encourage you not to do that. Stocks is a hobby. That is speculation. You don't know what one company is going to do or another. When you go into these mutual funds, what you're doing, for instance, I have a mutual fund that is every single company on the stock market. Now, obviously, I don't buy a stock in every one. I couldn't afford that. But there's a company, for instance, I'm with Vanguard, but there's tons of them that do this. And Vanguard, they buy stock in every single company on the New York Stock Exchange. And then I buy a percentage of that conglomerate of stocks. And so if the market goes up, overall, on average, my money goes up. If one company goes down, that doesn't affect me, as long as other companies are going up. And so you're getting the average of the market, and that's how a mutual fund works. A mutual fund works where a broker or a dealer will buy stock in a number of companies, and they'll diversify. They might have some in medical stock, they might have some in tech stock, they might have some in farming stock. They'll buy it in all different sectors, trying to balance it so when one goes up and another goes down, it comes out and you still get a good return. The stocks that I've bought into, over the period of the time that fund has been around, which I usually like funds that have been like 20 plus years, 20 to 30 years that they've been in business, they've averaged, over the last 30 years, they've averaged 12%, which is very high. And that's going through the 2008 recession, that's going through COVID, all of the things that you think, oh, the market crashed. But then it came back, and on average, it has averaged 12% a year. If you can average 8% a year, you will be doing very, very well in your retirement. Very well. So that's what you need to look for. And like I say, I'm not recommending any certain one. I'm telling you to go do some research. There's a lot of companies that provide this. I've done it through Charles Schwab, because they bought USAA's investment accounts. I've done it through Frost. I've done it through Vanguard. There's BlackRock. There's tons of different places that do this. Look into them. Look at what the fees are. Read the fine print. Don't just say, well, which one is it, and tell me where to put my money. You can't act like that. You need to take responsibility for yourself. But I would encourage you, look into mutual funds, look into Roth IRAs, look into the traditional IRAs, see what your company offers. If you work for a company, see if they provide any type of a benefit and take advantage of that. You have to get very proactive on this. But that is what I would encourage you to do. Don't buy stocks unless you've fully funded your IRA. So how much is that? Well, if you're under 50, that means one person, a single person, can put $7,000 in a Roth IRA in a year. That's your limit, depending on your income, but that's the limit. If you're over 50, you can do $8,000. If you're married, then you can do double that. So if you're married, you can put $14,000 in a Roth IRA every year. At least right now. Every year it changes. You got to look into what it is. But it generally goes up every year. But right now it's $14,000 for a couple, $7,000 for a single person. That's what you can do. You should be maxing that out if at all possible. And if that means that you don't go out to eat all year because you're going to fund your IRA, that's what you should do. Now, that's where deferred gratification comes in. If that means that you drive the same car for 10 years instead of for 7 years, or for 20 years instead of for 10 years, that's what you should do. You should defer your gratification. I know you want a nicer car. I know you want a nicer house. I know you want a nicer TV. We want lots of things, and there's nothing wrong with having those things. I'm not against them. But you need to fully fund your retirement first. So, maybe you don't make enough money to put $7,000 away no matter how much you save. Okay, put away what you can. Don't say, if I can't do it all, I won't do nothing. Don't do that. That's what I did. That's a terrible mistake. If you can only put away $1,000 a year in an IRA, do it. Do it. Now, if you can cut your expenses, cut your wants, cut your desires down, and get them under control, defer your gratification, and you can get to that $7,000 or $14,000 mark in your family and get that, do it. Do it now. Don't wait. No matter what age you are. If you're 50, do it. If you're 8, you should be doing it. We'll get to that in a minute. No matter what age you are, you should be doing this. Let me explain to you why. If you're 50 years old and you put $7,000 a year for 20 years into a Roth IRA, you will, at the end of 20 years, you will have invested of your money $140,000. $140,000. But your IRA, if you have a decent fund that's giving you a 10% return, let's just use an easy number, you'll have almost $500,000 in your retirement account. You'll put in 140 and you'll pull out 500,000. That's a great deal. Let me put it in numbers that we can all understand maybe a little better. The average car payment in America is $583 a week. That's the average car payment in America. A month, sorry. $583 a month is the average car payment in America. If you would put that car payment in a Roth IRA and not buy a car, just put it in the Roth IRA, you would have $500,000 at the end of 20 years. Now, you tell me, if you put that money in a car payment, what you have at the end of 20 years. You don't even have a car. So we are trading $500,000 to drive a car that we think improves our image in some way. Nothing will improve your image better than $500,000. Now, I'm not against buying a car. I have cars. I have more cars than I want to have. I'm not against cars. I'm not against new cars. But the mistake I made my whole life was buying cars when I should have been funding my retirement. Because this is the thing about compound interest, and that's what a retirement fund is giving you. If you don't know what that is, you need to look it up. I don't have time to go through. Let me just give you this quote. Albert Einstein said, compound interest is the eighth wonder of the world. Compound interest. It's what turns $100,000 into $500,000 in 20 years. Compound interest. It works on time. Time is everything. I'll give you an example. If you're 20 years old, so you're not 50, if you're 20 years old, and you put that car payment, instead of buying a car, you put it in your retirement account every year. When you get to be 65, you'll have almost $10 million. It's all about time. How much money will you have put in to get $10 million? How much money do you have to spend to get $10 million back? $350,000. Because the interest goes like this. Exponential. The longer it's there, the more return you get. People talk often, I've heard this recently from, who was it? I wish I could remember. I don't like to not quote who it is. Anyways, I'll try to think about it. I was listening to somebody on finances, very smart person, and they mentioned how people talk about how when the Dutch came to New Amsterdam, that's what New York used to be called. They came to New York, and they bought New York State from the indigenous people, and they paid them in seashells. And of course, that goes down in history as being like this terrible deal and exploitive and all of these things. It isn't, but whatever. He went through and he did the math. And if they would have taken, obviously this is hypothetical, but if they would have taken the value of the seashells and put it into a growth mutual fund, making 10% interest, that money would be more money than all the money in the world by now. They could have bought not only New York, but the entire country. It's a massive amount of money because that's how compound interest works. It works on time. So you young people, this is what I wish people would have not just told me, but beat it out of me, made me do it. My parents should have made me do this when I was at home. You need to start investing in a mutual fund, in a Roth IRA right now, like this week. Tomorrow, you need to start looking into this. The longer you wait, the more you're losing, and you're not losing it linearly. You say, well, it's only $7,000. You can't make it up. You cannot make up time. You have to start now. And that goes for everybody. If you're 50, start now. If you're 60, start now. You don't have much time. It's better than nothing. Start now. If you're not retirement age yet, you need to start now. Because you cannot make up for time. So, if you will invest just the amount you spend on fast food, you could retire comfortably. If that's all you did. If you do it for long enough time. One time I was listening to Charlie Munger and Warren Buffett. Charlie Munger's now deceased, but they were partners for many years. Many people probably know them, but they have this. They're legendary investors here in the United States and around the world, really. And they asked Charlie Munger why he wasn't as rich as Warren Buffett. And he said, because I didn't start out as young as he did. They were partners. They did everything together, but Warren Buffett had a lot more money, and it's because Warren Buffett started investing when he was a little boy. He saved his money, he gave it to his dad, and asked his dad to buy shares in companies. And before he was legally able to do it himself, he was investing. It's why he had more money. It's time. And you young people, right now, I'm giving you the best financial gift anyone can give you. Start investing right now. In America, and this is interesting because I try to teach this in Mexico, but it's a little harder because they don't have the facilities we have. It's not as easy as it is here. Here it is incredibly easy to do. It's wide open to you. When people say, oh, the rich are blocking access, it's not true. It's just not true. Anybody can do this. You do not need anything special. You can do it from your phone. You don't even have to go into a bank. You don't even have to talk to a financial person. You don't have to get a permit, nothing. On your phone, you can set up an account on Vanguard or one of these type of, say, Schwab or Frost or any of these people that do it. You can look at the different funds. They'll tell you how long the fund has been in existence, what its average return rate is, and you can just say, and they'll say, if you want to start, you need $1,000. Some of them are $500. Some of them are $2,000. There's different. Every fund has its own initial limit. You get that money together, put it in, and then you can put in $10 a week if you want. You can put in $10 a month, $100 a month, whatever you want. You just put it in. Every time you get paid, take 15% and put it in. Just put it in. Before you even do anything else, 15% put it in. Put it in, put it in, put it in, and just make that a habit. And you will be a multimillionaire when you retire. You don't even have to be financially smart to do this. This is super easy. Super, super easy. So, especially for you parents and children right now, how early can you do this? I think we should be doing this from the time our children can have a job. Because this is the thing about them in America right now, at least at this moment. Anybody can put money in a Roth IRA. Anybody. Doesn't matter what age they are. You can be 5 and you can do this. 5. You know how much money you would have if you saved from the time you were 5 to the time you were 70? Millions and millions and millions of dollars. I did some of the calculation. If I can find it here. If you invest $1,450. I'll tell you why I say that amount right now. But $1,450 from the time you're very young. No, let me put it this way. If you invest $1,450 for 1 year, so you just take $1,450 when you're 5, and you put that in a Roth IRA, and you never add to it. That's all you ever do. $1,450. When you are 65, you'll have $146,000. If you do that every year, then you'll be at like $2 million. $1,450, that's nothing. That's $27 a week. $1,450 per year will make you a multimillionaire. And that's nothing. Anyone can do that. Anyone can do this. If you start young, yes. I'm getting to this. Yes, you're right. There are requirements, but anyone can do it. There's no age limit. So here's the limitation on putting money in a Roth IRA. You can only put earned income in it. You can't put allowance money in it. You can't put gift money in it. It has to be money that you earned. You have to have a job. Now, your kids can work for you, but it can't be chores. It has to be work, and it has to be documented. The IRS is likely to look into it. So you have to do it carefully. You have to do it right, but it's not difficult. If you can provide your children, either they work for somebody, which they can't do it when they're 5 unless it's for you. They can only work for their parents. But if you set up some type of business, which in Texas is super easy, you can set up your own little business where you actually do something that is work. Maybe you sell crafts, or you sell lemonade, or you even have a nonprofit organization where you just take cookies and you give them out at senior citizen centers. And you pay them to make the cookies. All they have to do is be getting an income, earned income, and they can put that money in their Roth IRA. If you can figure out how to get your kids $1,500 of earned income a year for 10 years, you will make them a millionaire when they retire. If they never invest again, if that's all they ever did, they would retire with more than $1 million. This is what we should be doing. We should be getting our kids into Roth IRAs as soon as they can legitimately do a job and get paid for it. And here's the thing, I don't like minimum wage laws. In fact, I despise minimum wage laws, but they work really well for us here. You have to pay your kids at least $7.25 an hour. It doesn't matter how old they are. They have to be paid minimum wage. That works fantastic. So you just pay your kids minimum wage. The IRS cannot dispute that they're being overpaid because that's the least they can legally be paid. So you can pay them if they work at 1 hour a day, 5 days a week, 40 weeks out of the year. So that's not excessive. You're not going to violate any child labor laws with this. They're working 5 hours a week for 40 weeks out of the 52. They will make $1,450 at minimum wage. And you can put that money in a Roth IRA. And here's the thing also about this. They can spend half of it, and you can match half. So as a parent, they can spend half the money, put half of their earned income in, and you're allowed to match up to the amount they earn. So if they earned $1,450 that year, they can spend, let's say, $700 of it, and you can put in the rest, and so that they fully fund to $1,450. Does that make sense? No, as their parent. The parent is allowed to match the kid, but only up to the amount they earned. You can't put more money in than what they earned. No. Every year they have to have that income. So maybe you are a teenager and you don't need to work. And you're like, my parents are supporting me, I'm going to school or whatever, I'm living at home, and I don't need to work. Great, that's wonderful. Here's the problem with that. You can't invest. Doesn't matter how much money you have. You could have $100,000 in the bank. You cannot put a penny of it in a retirement account because it wasn't earned income. You have to have a job. Every single young person needs to go get a job. It can be a part-time job, but you need a job. You need a job that gets you $7,000 a year. That's what you need. You don't need to work. You got everything paid for. Great. Utilize that. I'm not against that. I'm not saying that's somehow bad. That's wonderful, but you can't invest, and you're losing time, and that's what you can't get back. So you need to go find a job where you're going to bring home $7,000 after taxes, so you can put that money in a Roth IRA. That's what you need. And you need to do it right now. And you do it every year. You need to have enough earned income to fully fund your Roth IRA. Because if you do that every year from the time you're 20, with that little bit amount of money, it takes almost nothing to earn $7,000. If you do that every year, you'll retire a multimillionaire. And if you don't, you'll be working for the rest of your life. Maybe you'll have a good paying job, but you will be working for the rest of your life. Now, this is all things that I messed up on terribly and put ourselves in a situation where we're not in a good position financially for the future. So now we have to try to make up for it, and there are ways to do that. You can invest outside of retirement accounts into mutual funds. We got to pay tax on the money. It's tax coming in. It's tax going out. There's a lot more issues. It can be done, but you're so much better off right now as a young person, especially speaking to you youth, you teenagers. I know it seems like it's so hard. It really isn't. If you just get in the habit, it'll be completely transparent. You won't even notice it anymore. And you just put that money in, you don't think about it, you don't look at it, you don't worry about it. You put the money in the account and you forget about it. It doesn't exist. Because you can't take the money out without paying penalties and taxes and all kinds of things. You can't take the money. Once you put the money in the Roth IRA, you can't touch that money. That has to stay. That's not money for a rainy day. That's not money for some day later on. That's money you need. That's money that has to stay there till you're 65, till you retire. Does that make sense? Okay, so, I would encourage you, there are tons of these financial calculators online. Go check the numbers. You can just type in how old you are. I'm 30 years old, and I'm able to put away this much money a year, and my fund is averaging this amount of interest every year. And it'll tell you exactly how much you're going to have by the time you're 60 or 64, 65 or 70, whatever age you want to shoot your target for. You can also type in and say, when I'm 70, I want to have $5 million in my account. That's a good target. $5 million. You say, oh, I could never have that much. Yes, you can. You do not have to be rich to become rich. You just have to be disciplined. It really just requires discipline. The tools are all available for you not to be poor when you're 70. They're all there. Those of us that didn't take advantage of it, we're pleading with you. Don't do that. Don't do what we did. Do what we should have done. And you parents, don't let your kids do that. Don't leave it up to them. Get them a job. Get them working. Get them some earned income. Put the money in don't put the money in a savings account. That just loses money. Savings account are paying 1% in interest, maybe. Inflation is 3%. They're just losing all their money in a savings account. Don't let them spend it on bubble gum. That's even worse. Make them invest it. And you, if your children are underage, you control the money. They don't get to decide. Legally, they do not get to decide. You decide. So make them get a job. Not so they can, it also helps them to learn to work, true. But they need to invest. And the only way they can do it is if they have earned income. It's the only way. Okay? Is there any other questions?